Hello, out of this binary. I apologize for the lack of quality because I'm using my webcam because I don't feel like going through the headache of recording on my phone and then transferring it to my new laptop, which I don't even know if it'll be kind to me, and it's a headache, so I don't want to do that. But anyway, I guess this week's topic is gendered language, and I know more specifically, um sexual language. I'm not gonna go too deep into that or use any personal anecdotes or anything because I'm still 17, so that'd be kind of odd, I think, or out of I'm not in the position really to talk about that publicly, but um I do want to mention non-sexual gendered language because it's kind of the conversation around it has been mostly relevant to me because I live in California, and if any of you watch any mainstream YouTubers, they pretty much all live in California, most of them, or London, but mostly California. And people always start videos with "Hi, you guys," and we say "dude," "bro." No, literally, we say "bro" to each other as in the same way we say "dude," like "bro." Um, and those are very, I guess those are technically gendered words, but a lot of us don't really see it that way. Like if I say "hi you guys" or say "dude" to a girl or to a group of girls, I'm not trying to say that they're guys, and the same goes for non-binary people, right? If I say "you guys" or "dude" or "bro," I don't mean it in a gendered way at all whatsoever. But apparently it's kind of a foreign concept to me that someone would be offended or uncomfortable even if I called them "dude" or "you guys." And that it surprised, it's kind of a weird concept that someone would be made uncomfortable by it. But I guess California slang isn't universal. It's um it's just a regional thing that people from other places aren't really used to. And so, for example, the group I'm part of, that's part of Planned Parenthood, is really we're really careful about the language we use, especially when teaching sex ed. We use the words male-bodied and female-bodied when discussing anatomy, and sex and things like that. So we're very careful with our word choice, and that's kind of how we're trained as well, is to be careful about using words like "you guys" and "dude," and we're persuaded not to use those words while we're in the group, even if everyone collectively understands that it's local slang, it's just what you say and it's not gendered. We we're asked to call each other y'all and use the word y'all, and I'm seeing that a lot on the internet too, on the queer side of the internet, especially because it's not gendered. But it doesn't come naturally, and I guess I've been sort of caught between being more PC and just saying what I'm used to saying, because if I'm from California, talking to people that are also from California, they probably understand that I'm not calling them a man by saying "dude" or "bro" or "you guys." Um, but then at the same time, now I kind of have this sort of guilt behind it. If I say "hey you guys" or "hey guys" when I'm in spare change, they'll think "oh, you clearly aren't being mindful of your language right now." But I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a position on it because I see both sides. Um, so that's a complicated issue. Let me know in the comments if you're not from California and you would be confused if someone said "dude" to you, or anything like that. And I feel kind of hypocritical because even though I say like dude, bro, etc. in a non-gendered way, like I do still feel kind of uncomfortable when someone says like girl or like calls me like girl. If it's feminine, then it makes me a little bit more comfortable. Maybe it's because it's not as common, but if someone like addresses me like ooh girl, like I don't know, I guess I feel sort of invalidated, because sometimes it's hard to tell what the intent is behind it, but maybe it's because it's not as common. Um, like it is fairly common, but it's not as common, at least here, is saying like you guys and dude and bro. And I also wanted to mention the word freshman, um, as in like your first year of high school or first year of college. Um, I never thought of that as a gendered word at all until very recently when someone on the internet brought it up. Like, don't say freshmen, say like first years or something like that. And I just find that really interesting because I never thought about it that way. Like, I never thought of freshman as a gendered word because, like, people from all genders go to school. Like, it doesn't, like, I don't see why that would be a gendered word. But then thinking historically, like, girls didn't go to school as often as boys did. So I guess that's some food for thought. Like, it's something to be mindful of, I think, um, when you're just using gendered language casually. Maybe be aware of, like, the implications it might have to someone else that you don't really think about. I don't know. Um, and then as far as sexual gendered language goes, I don't really see, like, any names for body parts besides besides saying things that have like a gendered word in them, obviously. Like, I don't think that most like names used like for genitalia are inherently gendered. I think the reason they are gendered is because we live in a cisnormative society where generally, um, most of the time girls have vaginas and guys have penises, and so like those slang terms have also been associated with those genders, but I don't think the words themselves are inherently gendered. But with that said, like, that doesn't invalidate feeling uncomfortable using certain language when describing your genitals or like sexual acts or anything like that. um, if I were to give any advice, I'd say if you're uncomfortable with like a word or phrase that your partner is using, mention it to them and let them know, like, hey, that kind of triggers my dysphoria. I'd rather not. Let's not use that word. Um, and honestly, if you have a trans or non-binary partner and you're not sure what words they're comfortable with, definitely ask them. The key, like, whenever someone asks me for relationship advice at all, I always tell them that communication is the most important thing, and I feel like people get kind of sick of hearing that, but because it's easier said than done. But if you can't thoroughly communicate with your partner, then it might not be a good idea to have sex with them, if that makes sense. Like, you need to have a certain level of trust and comfort with that person, at least in my opinion. It's okay if, like, I'm not trying to slam, like, casual sex or anything like that. I just mean, like, if a word or a phrase makes you uncomfortable during sex, let your partner know. And if they don't respect that, then maybe you shouldn't be having sex with that person. That's all I really have to say for today. Yeah, thank you for listening. I don't plan on editing this at all. I'm pretty tired and have a lot of work to do today, so I'll see you guys next week.